Season 4 of the finals just released. So today I want to answer the question, should you play Season 4 of the finals? Now to answer this question, I must go over all of the big changes that they made this season that have greatly impacted the game. But before I do that, let me give you a quick recap of what the finals has been like within previous seasons. I want to do this recap as it will show you just how important Season 4 is and what kind of impact it has on the game. To start things off, within Season 1 of the game, things were honestly pretty good. Many fans considered Season 1 to be overall a good season. I myself had a great time playing the game within Season 1. However, during Season 1 the game was still within the honeymoon stage, so at the time people were still trying out the game and learning how to play it, at least at the beginning of it. Towards the midpoint of the season, most people started to really get a feel for the game. This is when people who liked the game decided to stay and really start to grind the game, while the people who didn't care for the game as much moved on from it. That's when we saw a significant dip in the player count. The thing is, most games experience this, so it was a given that it would happen, especially with a game as complex as the finals. But even with this dip in players, the game still had a pretty healthy player base. Honestly, things were looking pretty good for the finals, but that's not to say things were perfect, as it definitely needed some balancing done to it and needed some things to be fixed or even reworked. For example, things like recon sense, defibrillators, mesh shield, and more were all considered to be a little too OP within Season 1. Also, things like the rank system desperately needed to be fixed. I won't go into everything that was wrong within Season 1, but just know although it was good, it wasn't perfect. For the most part, most people can agree it was definitely fun playing Season 1 though, and that the game seemed to have a bright future. Then along came Season 2. Now this season wasn't necessarily considered to be a great season, as there were some choices the developers made that people didn't like. However, there were also a lot of quality of life changes made to the game too, so I'd say it was mixed. A lot of people didn't like things such as the new weapons because they honestly kind of sucked. This started to make the game feel kind of stale, as a lot of the same stuff still dominated the meta of the game. I think this was due to the fact that the developers went the route of making a lot of major nerfs to stuff and not buffing weaker things. For example, they would nerf a lot of the top picked stuff like the FCAR, AKM, XP54, Lewis gun, etc. But then they didn't buff the weaker stuff like the FAMAS, the 93R, the KS23, etc. This put the meta in a weird spot, as now the stuff that got nerfed was still the best stuff to use because the weak stuff still wasn't good enough. This made gunfights feel like they took a lot longer, as everything just felt more weak. However, as I said, there were some great quality of life changes too that the players really liked as well, so it wasn't all bad. They completely removed recon sense and a tactic called nuking from the game, which was huge as many people liked these changes. They also did a major nerf to the defibrillators, which was well needed, and they fixed the rank system. So overall, Season 2 did help to fix a lot of things within the game, but unfortunately the developers didn't do the best job balancing things, as the meta felt very stale and everything just felt super weak and not fun to use. Moving on to Season 3, the developers could have listened to the majority of the community surrounding the game, which would have made Season 3 amazing. But instead, for whatever reason, the developers just disregarded everything the community suggested. This resulted in the worst season yet that was so bad it almost killed the game. Just because of a few major changes made, it caused another huge player drop. But this time, it wasn't just from people trying out the game and leaving. The player drop was from people who were actively playing the game on a day-to-day basis and enjoying it, but decided to leave after what the developers did. Pretty much what happened was they decided to take what was supposed to be a limited time game mode called Terminal Attack and made it the main game mode for Ranked. This change alone was devastating, but it got even worse. They also messed with the rank system, making it feel impossible to rank up, as you would lose more rank than you earned. So you could win 3 matches in a row and earn barely anything. But then you could lose the next game after those 3 wins and lose all the progress you just made, plus some, which was ridiculous. Not to mention they added, yet again, super weak weapons that felt useless, and they still weren't balancing stuff properly. Maybe it was from all the different game modes now in the game, or from the divide between the casual and competitive community in the game, but whatever the case was, the developers could not seem to get the balancing down. They just continued to nerf everything that was strong, but they didn't buff anything that really needed it. So the meta felt even more stale as everything just got weaker and weaker, making the things that were once powerful feel mid at best. But yet the things that were weak to begin with were still super weak because they didn't get buffed. So now you had no choice but to keep using the nerfed stuff. This made everything feel not fun to use at all, making the game less fun to play. At this point, the finals no longer felt like it had a bright future, but rather a dark one. As the player count continued to drop, and many content creators, myself included, left the game, it seemed like the finals was going to die if the developers didn't make some drastic changes. This all leads to Season 4, the biggest season for the finals so far. The season that would make or break the game. The season that could save the game or be the final nail in the coffin to kill it. So how did it do? Did Season 4 save the finals? Well, honestly, I think it did. That doesn't mean that this season has 100% fixed the game, as it still needs some work and has some ways to go. But Season 4 is most definitely off to a great start. Some of the things they changed were as follows. They switched the ranked game mode back to cash out again, and they made huge improvements to how the rank system works. They also finally started to buff things as well. A few of the things that got buffed were the dematerializer, the dagger, the Lewis gun, and more. That doesn't mean they didn't do any nerfs, because they did do a few. Like for example, they nerfed the healing beam, the mesh shield, and more. However, I think for once the buffs actually outweigh the nerfs, as the nerfs they did were to help make more options usable for each build. For example, everyone won't have to use just the healing beam or the mesh shield, as they can actually branch out and use new stuff. What's also going to get people to use more stuff, and what will shake up the meta, is the fact that they added optics to a bunch of weapons in the game. So for example, you could use a red dot sight on your AKM now, which is huge. If anything, this buffed a lot of weapons, because something as simple as a sight can make or break a gun. I think weapons like the M11, the V9S, the FAMAS, and more are going to be used a lot more because they have optics for them. Additionally, the new weapons for Season 4 are actually really good. I wouldn't say they're broken, but they definitely are really solid options that will help to shake up the meta and allow for more variety in what you're able to bring. Furthermore, they added a new sponsorship system where you're able to choose what sponsor you want to be partnered with for the season. By partnering with a certain sponsor, you're able to get cool cosmetic items, which is really awesome and adds to the game show feeling that the finals is all about. Likewise, the new map is actually really good as it's well designed and looks really cool too. While the previous maps that have been added in the other seasons were alright, this new map in Season 4 is definitely going to be a fan favorite. Moreover, the cosmetics this season that are not only available in the store, but in the Battle Pass as well, look awesome. I think they really play more into making it feel like you're competing in a virtual game show. They really went all out with the cosmetics, as they even added new stuff. Like, for example, you can now put facial hair on your contestant, which is really cool. I would say this season is looking like it has the best cosmetics yet. Finally, a few more things worth mentioning are they better optimize the game, so now you should be able to run the game a lot better with even more FPS. Also, they improved upon the settings and added some more stuff like a static reticle option. Overall, Season 4 of the finals came out of the gate swinging with some serious heavy hitters. There have been a lot of changes and improvements made that have seriously taken the finals from almost dying to now being alive and thriving. So to answer the question, should you play Season 4 of the finals? My answer is yes, you most definitely should. In my opinion, the finals has made a serious comeback, and I think if you left the game during Season 3, then you need to try the game out now. There's no doubt in my mind that Season 4 of the finals is definitely the best season we've gotten so far. So if you've played the finals at any point and you left because of how things were going, then now is the time to come back. So long as the developers continue to listen to the community's feedback and make changes to the game like they did for the start of Season 4, then the rest of the season will only continue to get better and improve upon the game. Honestly, the finals has come a long way from where it started, and it's been one heck of a bumpy road. But the path they're on now seems to be heading in the right direction, and I'm happy that's the case. I have a lot of love for this game, and I really do enjoy playing it. There's nothing else on the market quite like the finals, so I'm happy to see that they're not going to just let the game die, but instead are going to try to keep the game alive and well. Anyhow, that's it for me. What are your thoughts on Season 4 of the finals? Let me know in the comments down below. If you enjoyed this video, then please give the video a like. And if you want more content like this, then please subscribe. Have a great day, and I'll see you in the finals.